The storm begins quietly, almost too quietly. Far above the sleeping cities, the sky rearranges itself, winds weaving new paths, unseen forces whispering through cold air. A gentle hum rolls through the clouds like a warning disguised as a lullaby. Somewhere in the middle of America, a barometer dips, lights flicker, and the world holds its breath. But tonight isn't about fear. It's about understanding, because every storm, no matter how fierce, has a story. It's written in the patterns of air, the dance of heat and pressure, the way lightning speaks without words. We'll drift through those stories together, discovering how a storm is born, why it grows, and what it's really trying to tell us about the balance of Earth itself. So close your eyes and listen as the wind begins to move. The first chapter begins with a sound we all know. The soft inhale before thunder answers back. Before every storm, there's a strange kind of stillness, as if the world has stopped breathing for a moment. The air thickens, birds vanish, and even the leaves seem to listen. Scientists call it a drop in pressure, but old farmers call it a sign. The sky is thinking. The breath before the storm isn't silence, it's gathering. It's energy holding itself, waiting for release. This pause carries memory. The earth remembers every storm that came before, every shift in temperature that once made rivers flood or cities freeze. Nature rehearses its own history before speaking again. Maybe that's why the calm feels ancient, like déjà vu wrapped in wind. We've felt it since the beginning of time. There's a faint electricity in that pause. Your skin can sense it before your mind does. Some people say they can smell the storm, that earthy sweetness of ozone and soil. That's nature mixing chemistry with emotion, a signature scent that only appears before something powerful arrives. And then, without warning, the world exhales. The wind awakens, the sky opens its chest, and that breath turns into movement. The story of the storm begins not with thunder, but with that quiet moment before it. The sky never shouts first, it whispers. Look closely, and you'll see its language hidden in patterns. A faint halo around the moon, a red sunrise that looks too bright, a line of clouds that seem to stand still while moving fast. These are messages, not coincidences. The atmosphere is fluent in subtlety. Long before the storm arrives, invisible waves ripple through the air. Shifts in humidity, temperature, and light. Animals feel it first. Bees rush back to hives, dogs pace, and even the crickets fall silent. It's as if the entire planet speaks one quiet language, one we used to understand before we built walls around our senses. Every breeze carries a code, the direction it turns, the temperature it holds, each one tells us what's coming. Meteorologists read it through satellites, but you can read it too if you stand still long enough. Nature's rhythm never stopped playing, we just stopped listening. So when the next storm forms, don't just look up, feel the air. The sky may not use words, but it always leaves hints. The storm doesn't arrive unannounced. It always knocks softly first. There's something eerie about watching the pressure fall in the middle of the night. You can't see it, but you can feel it. A faint headache. The windows creak. Even your breath feels heavier. Meteorologists call it a pressure trough, but to the body, it feels like the world is sinking just slightly lower. In small towns across the Midwest, people still check old glass barometers hanging on kitchen walls. When the needle drops suddenly at midnight, someone always says the same thing: "She's coming." It's an ancient ritual, half science, half superstition. And somehow, they're never wrong. Atmospheric pressure isn't just numbers, it's the pulse of the sky. When it falls, air expands, moisture rises, and clouds begin forming their slow, restless spiral. It's as if the heavens are taking a deep breath before deciding what kind of storm it wants to be. The falling pressure tells us that something above is stirring, a conversation between ocean warmth and upper winds. And when that invisible dialogue deepens, thunder soon finds its cue. Every midnight drop in pressure is like the first word in a long unfinished sentence, one that only the storm knows how to end. Far above the Atlantic, two great rivers move, one of water, one of air. The Gulf Stream and the jet stream rarely meet, but when they do, the planet listens. It's a meeting of warm and cold, emotion and logic, and the results ripple across the entire United States. The Gulf Stream rises like a pulse of warmth, carrying tropical energy northward. The jet stream, cold and sharp, races east from the Pacific. When their boundaries blur, the sky begins to bend. Storms form not by accident, but by these two giants exchanging energy like dancers, trading steps. It's strange. You can't see their meeting, yet it changes everything below. A single shift in their pattern can mean drought in Texas or snow in New York. It's one of the most elegant examples of chaos in nature. Balance found through motion. And as these streams twist and weave, something beautiful happens. Lightning, rain, and wind follow their silent instructions. The earth hums differently for a few days. When the Gulf speaks and the jet answers, the sky becomes a living map of their conversation. Every so often, the sky flashes, and yet no thunder follows. It's called heat lightning, though the term is misleading. It's not born of heat, but distance. The flash you see might be 50 miles away, too far for sound to travel, too close for comfort. It's nature's quiet photography, capturing storms you'll never hear. There's something almost spiritual about it, light without noise, power without destruction. It reminds you that not all storms announce their strength. Some just shimmer beyond the horizon, whispering of energy that's both distant and near. Scientists explain it through reflection. Lightning, bouncing between cloud layers, echoing across miles of sky. But when you watch it, it feels like memory, like seeing the ghost of a storm still at work beyond the edge of night. These silent flashes tell us that weather is bigger than we think. The storm isn't just where you stand, it's everywhere, moving through layers of air and time. And as those flashes fade into the dark, they leave one thought lingering in the quiet. What else is the sky saying that we haven't yet learned to hear? There's an ocean above us, invisible, yet endless. Every day, trillions of gallons of water move through the air, drifting quietly from sea to land, from forest to desert. We don't see it, but it's there. A floating sea made of vapor, mist, and memory. This ocean carries more life than we realize. It feeds rivers before they're born and rains on mountains that have never touched the coast. This ocean has currents too. Slow, patient streams of humidity flowing like tides across continents. When they gather, clouds swell and rain begins its descent. When they vanish, drought begins. It's strange to think that every drop of water you drink once floated in that sky ocean, wandering for days, maybe weeks before finding its way down again. When storms form, they don't start from nothing. They draw from that invisible ocean above us. It's the Earth's hidden reservoir where temperature and time decide when to open the floodgates. The balance is delicate, too much warmth, and it releases chaos. Too much cold, and it locks its waters away in silence. So when the rain begins tonight, remember, It's not falling from clouds. It's falling from the ocean that lives just above your roof. There's a reason scientists call America's Midwest the Thunder Alley of the planet. It's not just coincidence, it's geography, destiny, and design. No other place on Earth mixes warm Gulf air, cold Arctic winds, and dry desert heat quite like this. When those forces meet, the sky experiments. The Great Plains become a testing ground for the laws of nature. Storms collide, split, merge, and evolve. It's where meteorology meets art, every cloud a painting in motion, every thunderclap a note in an endless symphony of pressure. You can almost sense that the Earth enjoys its own unpredictability here. Farmers wake before dawn to watch the skies, not out of fear, but familiarity. They know when to trust the smell of soil, the tilt of clouds, the hum in the wire fences before lightning hits. It's wisdom passed down, a human weather radar built through generations of survival. And yet even with satellites and models, the storms of the Midwest remain partly unknowable. Some swirl without reason, some vanish mid-air. It's as if the land itself is experimenting with energy, asking quietly, how far can balance bend before it breaks? If you could listen to a thunderstorm the way you listen to a song, you'd hear a rhythm, a pulse of energy that beats through the clouds. Lightning isn't random, it's the sky's heartbeat. It begins faintly, charged particles rising and falling like blood in veins. Then with enough tension it sparks, and the entire sky exhales. Every bolt of lightning carries a story of imbalance. Warm air rises, cold air sinks, and between them friction builds. It's chaos seeking peace, nature's version of releasing a held breath. Each flash is the atmosphere's way of saying, I can't hold this anymore. But here's the strange part. Lightning creates life. It turns nitrogen into compounds that feed plants. It helps Earth's chemistry renew itself, as if storms were doctors healing the soil. What seems violent is actually restoration. So when thunder shakes your window, know this. It's not anger, it's correction. The Earth is recharging its heart, aligning its energy again. That low rumble afterward, that's not just sound. It's the slow rhythm of the planet finding calm again after chaos. Before a storm, warm air behaves like an actor. It smiles, stays still, pretends to be gentle. You walk outside, feel the warmth, think the weather's fine, but the air is lying. Inside it, pressure is building quietly. Molecules are colliding, rising, accelerating. The atmosphere is holding its secrets. Warm air loves to hide instability. It climbs, gathering moisture, stacking invisible layers until it can't stay quiet anymore. And then, without warning, it bursts into thunderclouds. Scientists call it convection, but to the senses it feels like betrayal. The moment calmness turns to power. If you've ever felt that heavy, motionless heat before a downpour, you've felt this deception firsthand. The calm isn't safety, it's tension wearing a mask. It's the sky rehearsing a storm. Every storm begins with warmth, pretending to rest. Every thunderhead is born from stillness that couldn't hold itself together anymore. So when the air feels too quiet, too heavy, too golden, don't trust it. The storm is already awake inside it. There's a silence so deep it feels like time stops. Moments before a tornado forms, the world goes still. Birds freeze mid-song, insects vanish, even the wind seems to forget how to move. People describe it as the breath of the earth holding itself. It's haunting, beautiful and terrifying all at once. Scientists know why. Again, air pressure drops, sound waves bend, frequencies shift, but for those who live it, no explanation captures the feeling. It's like standing in the pause between two heartbeats, knowing something enormous is about to begin. In those seconds, light changes too. Everything turns greenish, as if the world is being filmed through glass. Trees lean in one direction, clouds twist like fabric, and the silence thickens into something alive. Then it happens, The air folds, the funnel descends, and chaos wakes from stillness. The sound returns all at once, roaring, cracking, breathing. The silence wasn't absence, it was creation. And in that moment you realize the storm doesn't destroy to punish, it destroys to renew, balance. That's how nature remembers its strength. Sometimes clouds behave like ideas, swirling, merging, breaking apart before fully forming. When warm and cold air meet at just the right angle, they begin to twist. What looks soft and harmless from the ground becomes a slow rotation, invisible at first, then unmistakable. The sky starts thinking, and the thoughts are heavy. These rotating clouds were the first signs of supercells and were born out of tension. They rise higher than mountains, carrying the mood of the atmosphere. From below, they look almost alive, curling like breath on glass. It's in these spirals that nature shows both its intelligence and emotion. Inside, the air moves in perfect choreography. Updrafts and downdrafts spiral around each other, feeding the cloud's hunger for energy. It's strange to think that something so elegant can also be dangerous, say like watching beauty become chaos in slow motion. If you've ever felt awe and fear at the same time while watching the sky, that's what these clouds create. They remind us that thinking, even for nature, can be turbulent. The storm is forming its own mind, and soon it will speak. Imagine rivers that never touch the ground. They twist above the oceans and stretch thousands of miles across the sky, carrying more water than the Amazon. Scientists call them atmospheric rivers, but to nature, they're the veins of the planet, transporting life where it's needed most. These ghost rivers form when warm ocean air lifts and condenses, creating streams of moisture that flow silently across continents. They don't have banks or waves, only currents made of vapor. When they reach mountains, they release their cargo, the days of heavy rain, floods, or snow that nourishes entire ecosystems. You can't see them, but they shape everything. California's rains, the Midwest's floods, even droughts in the plains, all trace back to these invisible pathways. It's as if the sky has its own plumbing, hidden behind the clouds. Sometimes they drift off course. When that happens, one region floods while another starves. Balance isn't lost, it's just redistributed. Nature never wastes motion, it only rearranges it, and every storm that pours too much leaves behind silence somewhere else. If you look at weather maps over decades, you'll notice something strange. Storms often travel the same routes. It's as if they remember. Meteorologists say it's due to topography and air currents, but there's something deeper, something rhythmic, like the earth replaying familiar songs. Hurricanes tend to follow ancient ocean trenches. Tornadoes return to the same towns generations apart. Even lightning favors old paths, striking again where it once left a mark. Nature has memory. The air keeps notes about where it's been and where balance has been disturbed before. This repetition gives us both warning and wonder. The past storms left clues: old tree rings, coral scars, soil layers filled with salt. Each record whispers, "I've been here before." Humanity learns from this memory, though often too late. There's comfort, too, in knowing that nothing in nature is random. Storms are teachers revisiting old classrooms, testing what the land has learned. The lesson is simple: patterns repeat until balance is understood. And the sky, it seems, never forgets its favorite routes. At the horizon, where sea meets air, there's a constant negotiation. Warm water rises, cool air descends, and somewhere in between, storms are born. It's not violence, it's diplomacy. The ocean gives, the sky takes, and both remain alive through exchange. Every droplet that evaporates from the sea is part of that silent meeting. The ocean whispers temperature data upward, the atmosphere replies with wind. Together, They write the climate's daily script. When to rain, where to thunder, how hard to breathe. Sometimes they disagree. When ocean heat builds too quickly, the sky panics, spawning hurricanes to release the pressure. When the air grows too dry, the ocean waits, storing power in silence. It's an endless conversation, gentle yet powerful, shaping every forecast we make. From a plane window, you can almost see it, that soft shimmer at the edge of the world where both realms merge. It's not just water and vapor meeting, it's two minds exchanging emotion, and every storm you feel is a message carried from that conversation. Before we invented radar, there were feathers. Birds have always been the first meteorologists, reading changes in air density, pressure, and magnetism long before humans detect them. When a storm is coming, their flight paths shift. They drop low, vanish into forests, or fly inland. It's instinct mixed with ancient memory. Some birds can sense barometric changes as slight as 1 millibar. To them, a falling pressure isn't theory, it's survival. Seagulls flock to shore, sparrows hide in hedges, and hawks hover still, as if listening. They know when the sky is about to move. Farmers once trusted them more than instruments. If the crows fall quiet, they'd say, close the barn doors. That wisdom wasn't superstition, it was observation passed through generations. Even now, scientists track migration data to predict storms. The flocks rise or fall days before satellites confirm it. It's humbling, the reminder that nature's creatures don't need forecasts, they just feel the earth, breathe differently, and maybe that's what we've lost in our world of screens. The ability to sense the storm coming without needing to be told. High above the clouds, a river of air flows faster than any hurricane. It circles the planet like a restless band, bending storms, shifting seasons, deciding who gets sun and who gets rain. This is the jet stream, the atmosphere's invisible sculptor. You can't see it, but it decides everything. When it dips low, cold Arctic air spills south, freezing cities overnight. When it lifts north, the warmth expands and drought begins. It's not chaos, it's choreography. Every motion is part of the Earth's attempt to balance temperature and time. Sometimes the jet stream wobbles. Scientists call these Rossby waves, but to the world below they feel like mood swings of the sky. A gentle bend can become a blizzard, a subtle twist, a heat wave. And here's the mystery. We still don't know what truly makes it shift. Some say it listens to the oceans, others think it reacts to solar winds, but perhaps it's simply the sky's way of breathing, long, deep breaths that remind the planet it's alive and moving. Deep in the Arctic, a vast whirl of icy air spins like a slow, silent cyclone. This is the polar vortex, the cold heart of the northern sky. For centuries it stayed in place, guarding the poles, but lately it's been wandering. When it weakens, pieces of it drift south, spilling frigid air into North America. One day it's calm, the next Texas freezes while Alaska warms. It's nature playing chess with temperature, strategic, unpredictable, and strangely poetic. The vortex doesn't move on its own. It listens to the jet stream, to ocean currents, even to heat rising from human cities. It's as if the planet's smallest changes whisper into its ear. But perhaps its journey isn't a mistake. Perhaps it's adaptation. The Earth adjusts herself, redistributing cold where it's needed, releasing pressure where it's too much. The wandering vortex isn't chaos, it's recalibration. Like all living things, the planet changes its patterns to survive. Every storm begins with a boundary, a line between cold and warm, stillness and movement. This line is invisible, yet it stretches across entire states, dividing the sky like a quiet argument. One side pushes, the other resists, until tension breaks. Meteorologists call this boundary a front, but it's more than that. It's a meeting of personalities. Warm air is generous, expansive, emotional. Cold air is logical, restrained, unyielding. When they meet, neither wants to move first. The result is drama, storms, wind, lightning, and rain. You can feel it before it happens. The air thickens, the horizon blurs, and the first gust carries the scent of both sides colliding. It's the world's oldest debate, energy, trying to find equilibrium. Sometimes the warm air wins, pushing the cold away in rolling waves. Other times, the cold cuts under and lifts the warmth violently, birthing thunder. In that brief clash, balance returns until they meet again. The divide isn't destruction, it's negotiation. If you've ever stood near a mountain during a storm, you've felt it. The electricity in the air, sharp and alive. Mountains don't just stand still, they shape the weather around them. As air climbs their slopes, it cools, condenses, and builds charge. Soon, the clouds above start to spark. Lightning loves high ground. The peaks reach closest to the sky's electrical fields, inviting the storm's attention. But it's not just altitude, it's chemistry. Minerals inside the rock amplify static energy, turning cliffs into lightning magnets. Every flash that hits a summit tells a story of connection. Earth touching heaven for a brief, blinding second. Some ancient cultures believed lightning on mountaintops was divine conversation, and maybe they weren't wrong. From space, those strikes look like heartbeats, Earth's pulse glowing through the clouds. Mountains give storms a place to release energy, to balance tension built across the land. Without them, the sky might hold its breath too long. When the sun sets, you'd think the sky would calm. But some storms prefer the dark. Nighttime tornadoes are among the most dangerous, not because they're stronger, but because they hide. You can't see them coming. You can only feel the air change. Scientists still study why so many tornadoes ignite after midnight. It's partly the cooling of the ground, the shifting winds, the clash of fading warmth and rising chill. But there's something eerie in it, a sense that the sky reveals its wilder side when no one's watching. In those hours, lightning flashes silently behind thick clouds, illuminating shapes that look almost alive. The wind sounds different too. Lower, steadier, almost whispering. It's not chaos, it's precision. Night tornadoes move quieter, faster, guided by invisible patterns in the atmosphere. They're proof that storms don't sleep. They only change form. The darkness doesn't stop the weather, it simply hides its face while it keeps remaking the world. Every storm has a natural lifespan, a birth, a rise, a decline, yet some defy that rule. They linger, regenerating over and over as if the earth can't quite let them go. Meteorologists call them training storms or self-sustaining systems. But in a more poetic sense, they are memories looping in the sky. They feed on their own leftovers, drawing moisture from the rain they've already spilled, recycling energy like a heart that won't stop beating. To the ground below, it feels endless. Thunder after thunder, each one echoing the last. Sometimes geography keeps them alive. Warm Gulf air meeting persistent jet stream winds. Sometimes the ocean fuels them, offering one last breath of warmth before the storm drifts inland. But maybe it's something simpler. The atmosphere, like us, sometimes struggles to move on. When these storms finally fade, they leave landscapes reshaped, rivers swollen, trees polished clean, air tasting like new beginnings. The storm didn't survive out of malice. It lingered because nature wasn't finished speaking yet. If you could peel back the clouds and look down at night from orbit, you'd see something extraordinary. Thousands of lightning veins stretching across the country. From Florida's coasts to Oklahoma's plains, the U.S. pulses with electrical life. Each bolt is part of a continental circuit, connecting land, air, and ocean through invisible currents. The atmosphere isn't just air, it's a live wire humming with charge. The more heat we build, the stronger that hum becomes. Some regions spark more than others. Florida, the lightning capital, averages 100 flashes every second during storm season. But even in quieter states, unseen discharges crackle above the clouds, a hidden symphony of static and light. It's strange to realize that the same force that powers storms also powers us. The human body runs on electricity too, though at gentler frequencies. Maybe that's why we feel so alive during a thunderstorm, like our hearts momentarily sync with the planet's pulse. Not all thunder can be heard. Some storms speak in tones too low for human ears, infrasound that rolls through the earth itself. You can't listen to it, but your body feels it, a deep vibration in your chest, an unease you can't name. This hidden thunder can travel for hundreds of miles. Animals sense it long before the storm arrives. Elephants, whales, even birds react to these frequencies, migrating early or falling silent. The sky is talking, just in a language too deep for us. Scientists have learned to track tornadoes and volcanic eruptions through infrasound. Each carries a unique signature, like a fingerprint of pressure. The earth hums constantly. Storms are just the louder verses of that song. Next time the weather feels strange but the sky seems clear, maybe it's because you're hearing what can't be heard. The low music of a planet always in motion. Thunder doesn't stop at sound. It continues as vibration, as feeling, as memory. Rain isn't random. It falls in shapes. Fractals, spirals, repeating symmetries that mirror the structure of seashells and galaxies. When seen from above, radar reveals these invisible designs, kind of sacred geometry drawn in water. Each storm paints its own map. Some form perfect circles, others trace diagonal lines that follow mountain ridges. Even chaos, it seems, follows a pattern. The rhythm of rainfall over years carves invisible art into the land, rivers bending like veins, valleys forming like fingerprints. Scientists study these shapes to understand climate. But there's poetry in them too, nature's handwriting, written in evaporation and time. Every raindrop obeys gravity, yet together they create something that looks designed. Maybe that's the mystery. Order hiding inside disorder. The storm isn't just noise, it's mathematics playing itself out beautifully, reminding us that even in chaos, creation leaves a trace. Above the continent, vast currents of air move like ocean streams, bending, merging, spiraling. These upper-level winds are the highways that carry storms across states. They're unseen, but they dictate everything below. Some flow eastward at jet-like speeds, others loop lazily, forming weather systems that linger for days. When they align, gentle rains follow. When they clash, the sky ignites with power. Pilots call them atmospheric rivers, though they move not with water, but with intent, transporting heat, dust, and even pollen across continents. The very breath you take may have traveled here from deserts thousands of miles away. It's humbling to know that air, something so light, carries the weight of climate, memory, and migration. Above our heads, invisible tides are always moving, shaping the story of tomorrow's sky long before a single cloud is born. From above the world, NASA's satellites watch storms like living organisms. Their sensors don't just capture light. They read temperature, motion, and even emotion in the air. Every pixel of cloud tells a story, how fast it spins, how deep it breathes, how much energy it hides. Infrared cameras see what eyes can't, the cold tops of thunderheads where lightning is born. Radar satellites peer through miles of water vapor, tracing the pulse of rain before it ever touches ground. It's the sky under an X-ray, and what they find often surprises even scientists. Some storms pulse like hearts, beating in rhythm every few minutes. Others twist around invisible cores that no one can see from below. It's almost eerie, as if the weather has a secret anatomy and satellites are learning how to read its pulse. Through their eyes, we realize the storm isn't just chaos, it's architecture, a masterpiece sculpted by physics, time, and temperature. And somewhere in that vast swirling data, the planet whispers how it keeps itself alive. Every storm begins with a handshake between ocean and air. The sea gives heat, the sky gives motion. Together they trade invisible energy that fuels the planet's heartbeat. When the surface of the ocean warms, it exhales, sending vapor upward like a promise. That vapor rises, cools, condenses, and falls back as rain. A perfect cycle that powers every hurricane, every thunderstorm, every whisper of wind. It's a transaction that's been going on for billions of years, never once late, never once missed. Sometimes the ocean gives too much. Warm currents overfeed the atmosphere, and the result is chaos. Vast spirals of energy we call tropical storms. Other times, the air forgets to return the favor, and drought begins. Balance, once again, becomes negotiation. If you listen to the waves long enough, you can almost hear it, that faint dialogue between two worlds. The ocean breathes out, the sky breathes in, and somewhere in between, a storm is born. To most, hurricanes are monsters, but to the Earth, they're mechanics. Great spinning engines that move heat where it's needed. They take warmth, trapped in the tropics, and deliver it toward the poles, keeping the planet's climate in motion. Their structure is almost mathematical. A perfect spiral, calm at the center, fury on the edges. The eye isn't emptiness, it's order. Around it, winds roar, not out of hatred but out of purpose, redistributing energy like gears in a great cosmic machine. When a hurricane dies, the world cools just slightly, as if the engine finished its work. The ocean breathes easier, the air resets. It's nature performing maintenance on itself. Sometimes the air feels different, not just humid or dense, but thoughtful, as if it's carrying something unseen. Scientists might say it's pressure, but old sailors used to say the air remembers. And maybe they were right. Every gust carries dust from deserts, salt from oceans, ash from old fires. Tiny pieces of history drifting through time. This memory gives storms personality. Rain over Kansas might contain particles once lifted from the Sahara. Snow in Colorado can hold ocean salt from Japan. It's the sky recycling moments from distant lands, mixing the world into one breath. When you stand outside before a storm, you're inhaling stories thousands of miles old. The heaviness you feel is the weight of everything the air has touched. It's not just weather, it's memory returning home. And sometimes, when lightning strikes, that memory resets. The charged air cleanses itself, balancing ions and erasing what was carried too long. Then the world feels lighter again, as if the atmosphere has finally exhaled. It sounds impossible, but the sand of the Sahara shapes the storms of America. Every summer, millions of tons of desert dust rise into the sky, crossing the Atlantic like a ghostly bridge. NASA satellites capture it as a golden haze drifting westward. When that dust reaches the Gulf of Mexico or the Caribbean, it changes everything. The particles act like seeds, giving clouds a place to grow. Sometimes they spark thunderstorms, other times they quiet hurricanes by drying the air. The desert decides how the ocean breathes. It's strange to think that what begins as silence in the dunes ends as thunder in another world. The same particles that once covered ancient tombs can fall as rain on Louisiana fields. It's the Earth's long-distance conversation, died on one continent whispering into another's weather. The sky, it seems, never belongs to one place. It's shared, a single heartbeat connecting lands that have never met. Have you ever noticed how sunsets before a storm look different, deeper, almost electric? The glow isn't just beauty, it's chemistry. When air becomes charged with ions and dust, light bends through it in mysterious ways. Reds burn richer, blues fade slower, and gold lingers as if the sky can't let go. This charged glow is nature's quiet announcement. Something is coming. Long before thunder, before lightning, before wind, the light changes. It's the sky testing its colors before the curtain rises. Pilots often say that sunsets predict the storm's mood. A pale one means gentle rain. A fierce orange means instability, like tension before music begins. Even animals respond. Birds circle, cows move closer together, people stare without knowing why. The glow fades quickly but not without meaning. It's a visual hum, a vibration of color through the air. And if you look long enough, you'll notice. The calmest light often appears right before the world begins to move again. The storms of tomorrow won't follow yesterday's paths. Over the last few decades, scientists have watched something remarkable. The US storm belt is slowly drifting northward. Tornado Alley, once firmly in Oklahoma and Texas, is migrating toward the Midwest and Great Lakes. The reason? Heat. As global temperatures rise, jet streams shift, and the boundaries between warm and cold air move with them. The Earth adjusts, as always, but the results reshape entire seasons. This migration isn't dramatic, it's slow, almost imperceptible. But the effects are profound. New farmlands get too much rain, while others go dry. Cities once safe from twisters now hear sirens in spring. Change doesn't always roar. Sometimes it drifts, quietly, consistently, rewriting maps one cloud at a time. The storms are learning new roads, and perhaps that's the planet's way of balancing, redistributing its chaos evenly across time and place. Before weather apps and radars, there were fishermen, masters of intuition. They could smell a storm before it formed. The taste of salt would change, the sea surface would cool beneath their hands, and the gulls would vanish without a sound. What they sensed wasn't magic. It was attunement. The air pressure dipped slightly, the humidity thickened, the rhythm of waves faltered. To someone who lived by the sea, these were all sentences in nature's language. They'd pull in nets early, tie ropes tighter, say little. Some would look at the horizon and simply nod. She's coming. And hours later, they'd be right. Even now, meteorologists study their notes. The ocean often reveals its moods before technology can measure them. Maybe the fishermen weren't predicting storms. Maybe they were listening to the ocean's heartbeat, something we've almost forgotten how to hear. To witness one from space is to see balance in motion, with a colossal act of precision that looks like madness only because we're standing too close. Hurricanes don't break the system. They keep it running. The Gulf of Mexico looks peaceful, a shimmering bowl of blue. But beneath its surface lies one of the planet's most potent energy reservoirs. Warm, shallow waters there feed storms faster than anywhere else on Earth. It's a cauldron hidden beneath sunlight. Meteorologists call it the loop current, a warm underwater river that spins like molten glass. When a storm crosses it, it explodes in strength almost instantly. That's why hurricanes entering the Gulf often become historic. It's the ocean's furnace igniting the sky. But the Gulf's power isn't just destructive, it also stabilizes winter weather, feeds ocean life, and drives the seasonal rhythms of North America. It's both creator and destroyer, the heart of contrast. Some call it the engine room of the Western Hemisphere. Maybe that's fitting. Because every ripple that begins there eventually shapes rain in Chicago, snow in Maine, or drought in California. It's proof that nothing in nature ever happens in isolation. It was called the Labor Day hurricane, one of the most powerful ever recorded. In 1935, it struck the Florida Keys with winds strong enough to move trains off tracks. Yet, what people remember most isn't the destruction, it's the silence before. Survivors spoke of birds vanishing hours earlier, of air so still it felt wrong. The sea withdrew, revealing sand that hadn't seen sunlight in centuries. Then, without sound, the horizon folded. A wall of wind erased the sky. The calm that followed when the eye passed overhead felt unreal. Stars appeared above the wreckage. Some thought it was over. Then the second half came, stronger, darker, louder. It was nature reminding us that peace and chaos are often the same dance, just seen from different sides. Even now, nearly a century later, that storm lingers in American weather lore. It taught meteorologists humility, showed survivors reverence, and left behind a truth we still forget. The storm doesn't end when the wind stops. It ends when the earth remembers what balance feels like again. Not all trees are equal when lightning looks for a path. Some seem to call it tall, proud, and full of water. Oaks, pines, poplars, they stand like natural antennas connecting heaven and earth. When the storm begins to charge, these trees quietly prepare. As if they know what's coming, water is the key. Trees with moist sap conduct electricity better, creating a highway straight into the ground. Their branches stretch wide, offering the perfect landing spot. Yet the moment of strike isn't violence. It's communion. The sky releases, and the tree accepts. Ancient people saw lightning-struck trees as sacred. In many cultures, they marked holy places, proof of connection between worlds. Even today, the burned spiral scars left on bark tell stories older than science. It's strange to think of a tree's death as a message, but maybe it is. Lightning reminds us that even rooted things can reach the sky, if only for a second. After the roar fades, there's a quiet so deep it feels unreal. The air is thick, heavy, unmoving, as if time itself is stunned. Survivors often describe it as the loudest silence they've ever heard. Birds don't sing. Dogs don't bark. The world holds its breath. This stillness is nature's reset. Pressure equalizes, energy disperses, and for a few moments, everything waits. You can almost sense the earth checking itself, counting, balancing, remembering. It's not mourning, it's recalibration. Then slowly, the world begins to return. A leaf flutters. A faraway crow calls. The first raindrops start to fall again. Life resumes its rhythm, softer but stronger. People who have lived through tornadoes say that silence never leaves them. They recognize it in small pauses, between heartbeats, before dawn, after storms of any kind. Because in that stillness, they once heard the earth breathe. High above, in air too cold to touch, clouds are born from invisible architecture. Tiny ice crystals, even no bigger than dust, decide the form of everything we see below. Flat clouds, tall towers, soft cotton shapes, all are designed by these frozen architects. The temperature, humidity, and even the purity of air dictate how these crystals grow. Some form perfect hexagons, others branch into feathers, needles, or snowflakes. Billions gather, drifting together like a slow-motion orchestra building a song. Every cloud, no matter how vast, begins with just one particle, one point of order in an ocean of chaos. It's humbling, the idea that the sky's grandest formations start from something too small to see. If you look long enough, you'll realize no two clouds are ever truly alike. They are temporary masterpieces built moment by moment, destined to vanish but never repeat. There's a scent after the first drops of rain. Sharp, electric, almost metallic. It's called petrichor, and it's the smell of earth waking up. When lightning strikes or dry soil meets water, hidden oils and minerals release into the air. The result is that unforgettable fragrance of renewal. Scientists discovered that bacteria in the soil create a compound called geosmin. When raindrops hit, they burst it upward, carrying the smell of life itself. Lightning adds ozone to the mix, giving it that metallic edge, the scent of energy reborn. That's why rain feels emotional. It's not just moisture, it's memory. The ground is breathing again, whispering, "I remember." Close your eyes the next time it rains and inhale deeply. What you're smelling isn't just weather. It's chemistry, history, and healing, all condensed into the air we share. Every sunrise begins a quiet conversation between the sun and the sky. The light enters at an angle, scattering through air, molecules, and dust. The result is color: golden, violet, crimson, a language of photons painting emotion across the world. But sunlight does more than illuminate. It charges. It fills the upper atmosphere with particles that dance between magnetic fields, shaping radio waves and auroras. The earth responds, vibrating gently like a drum touched by light. This dialogue changes every day. Stronger after storms, softer in winter, more vibrant when the air is clean. It's a communication older than life itself, one we feel in our bones but can never quite translate. To watch dawn break after a storm is to witness peace restored. The sun doesn't erase the night's chaos, it simply listens to it, turning thunder's memory into morning glow. Far to the north, the sky sometimes glows in waves of green and violet, a silent dance called the aurora. It looks peaceful, but it's born from storms too, not on Earth, but on the sun. When solar winds strike our magnetic field, the upper atmosphere trembles, lighting up the night in color and current. Each glow is energy transformed. The same particles that cause lightning in our skies fuel these heavenly displays far above. Scientists call it space weather, but in truth, it's part of the same conversation. Storms speaking across dimensions, from star to planet. Auroras follow Earth's magnetic veins, rippling where charged particles collide with oxygen and nitrogen. Every flicker is a dialogue between sun and sky, chaotic, beautiful, necessary. And on nights when auroras pulse stronger, strange things happen below. Radio waves twist, compasses drift, animals grow restless. It's as if the whole planet feels the heartbeat of the storm beyond the stars. It might sound like science fiction, but the weather in space shapes the weather here. When solar flares erupt, they release clouds of plasma that ripple through the solar system. When those reach Earth, they jolt our magnetic field, subtly changing how energy moves through the atmosphere. Some researchers believe these solar surges influence jet streams, storm tracks, even rainfall. Not directly, but like a conductor shifting tempo, they alter the rhythm. Patterns once stable begin to waver. Winds accelerate, clouds gather differently. The Earth listens even if we don't. During major solar storms, power grids surge and satellites flicker, but deeper still, air pressure sometimes falls in sync. Lightning frequencies rise slightly as if Earth's storms echo the pulse of the sun. It's a reminder that no storm is truly local. Every gust of wind, every drop of rain, every flicker of light is part of a greater orchestra that begins 93 million miles away. Above us, unseen but mighty, floats a guardian, Earth's magnetic field. It wraps the planet like a cocoon, deflecting solar radiation and shielding every storm, every living thing. Without it, our skies would look like Mars, stripped bare by cosmic wind. This shield bends and flexes constantly. When solar particles collide with it, the field ripples, auroras bloom, compasses spin, and satellites feel its tremor. Yet for most of us, it's silent, unacknowledged, invisible. The magnetic field isn't static. It drifts a little each year, its poles wandering slowly across the globe. Over North America, that movement changes how charged particles flow, influencing lightning, auroras, even subtle changes in storm energy. It's humbling to think the sky we see each day is partly shaped by a field we cannot see. A silent force holding chaos at bay, guiding storms so the planet can breathe in peace. Far beneath the surface of the Atlantic lies a secret, a ring of warm water known as the Atlantic Loop Current. It circulates quietly, feeding hurricanes and shaping entire weather patterns across the U.S. East Coast. When this loop grows stronger, the sea becomes restless, storms swell faster, winds sharpen, rain thickens. When it weakens, the Atlantic sleeps and calm drapes itself across the coastlines. This loop isn't constant. It sways with the moon, the tides, and the sun's rhythm. Satellites track its pulse like a heartbeat, one that decides whether Florida feels a drizzle or a deluge. Few realize how deeply this current ties to the land. The same heat that fuels a Caribbean storm can alter snowfall in New York weeks later. The ocean, it turns out, doesn't stop at the shore. It extends into the clouds, weaving weather with warmth. Across the Pacific, a slow warming begins, patch of ocean near the equator, heating more than usual. That warmth doesn't stay local. It ripples outward, changing rain in California, drought in Asia, floods in the south. We call it El Niño, but to the planet, it's simply adjustment. El Niño flips the usual balance. Winds weaken, ocean currents shift, and jet streams reroute. The result, the world's climate temporarily rewrites its own script. Storms appear where none should, and places used to rain fall silent. The Pacific whispers its message months before the changes reach us. Scientists see it in temperature maps, but fishermen once sensed it in the water's taste, a softness, a hint of calm before turbulence. Every few years, this pattern reminds us that Earth's weather is one great conversation. The Pacific speaks, the rest of the world listens, and by the time we realize it's begun, the air itself is already changing tone. Sometimes a storm seems unsure of itself. On the radar, it starts as one swirling mass. Then, like a thought dividing mid-sentence, it splits into two. Each half takes its own path, its own mood, its own destiny. Meteorologists call it cell splitting, but to nature, it's evolution in motion. Warm air rises in one column, while cold air sinks beside it. The balance snaps. The left side twists with rotation. The right side grows with new energy. One fades, the other thrives. It's not destruction. It's the atmosphere experimenting. Every split leaves fingerprints, twin thunderheads drifting apart like siblings choosing different roads. One may produce lightning, the other calm rain. The sky decides what kind of emotion it wants to express. There's beauty in that duality, proof that even storms can change their minds. What we call chaos might just be nature thinking out loud. Fire and rain are opposites. One devours, the other restores. Yet in the rhythm of the earth, they move together. Wildfires heat the air, lifting smoke and ash high into the sky. Those particles become seeds for clouds. Soon after destruction, rain falls, often right where the fire burned. It's a strange partnership. The ashes enrich the soil, the rain cools the land, and within weeks new green begins to rise. Fire clears, rain heals, the oldest cycle of renewal. Scientists call this pyrocumulus activity. storm clouds born from flame. But there's something spiritual about it too. Out of heat comes balance, out of loss, life. The planet, in its own quiet wisdom, knows how to start over. When you see rain falling on smouldering hills, remember, that's not coincidence. That's the earth writing its own apology, its own promise, in water and light. The Great Lakes may look still, but they're alive, vast mirrors that power the skies above them. When cold air sweeps over their warm surfaces, it collects moisture, turning calm water into snow clouds. This is the secret behind lake effect snow, nature's quiet workshop of winter. Each lake has its own voice. Erie creates fast, light snowfalls. Superior builds long, relentless ones. Together they generate entire weather systems that ripple across states. To the north, they cool the summers. To the south, they feed storms with invisible mist. These lakes act like lungs for the continent, inhaling warmth and exhaling rain. Without them, the Midwest would be far more extreme, harsher droughts, longer freezes. They are the moderators of balance, the ancient keepers of moisture. When fog drifts off the water at dawn, you can almost feel it, the breath of lakes shaping tomorrow's sky. Fog is the most patient weather of all. It doesn't rush, it doesn't roar, it lingers. Every droplet in fog has been many things before. Ocean vapor, mountain, snow, human breath. When they gather close to the ground, it's as if time itself has slowed to watch. Fog blurs edges. Trees soften, roads disappear, sound becomes muffled. It's not that the world vanishes, it just hides, asking you to notice what's left. There's a stillness in fog that feels ancient, like standing inside memory. In valleys and coasts, fog brings life. It waters plants silently, cools hot cities, carries salt from the sea inland. To those who live in it often, fog becomes a friend, a daily visitor that teaches patience. Maybe that's why fog feels timeless. It's the Earth's reminder that not everything needs to rush forward. Some things, like understanding, appear only when we slow down enough to see them. There's a moment just before sunrise when rivers breathe, wisps of vapor curling upward, rising into the cold air. It's called steam fog, and it's the most delicate storm of all. Warm water meets cold morning, and the two embrace. This mist is more than beauty. It's balance made visible. The water releases heat overnight, sharing it with the sky above. That gentle exchange fuels local weather. Small breezes, faint clouds, soft rain later in the day. Fishermen call it ghost breath. It moves across the surface like something alive, slow and wise. You can almost imagine the river exhaling after holding warmth all night long. Steam fog vanishes fast, gone as soon as the sun rises higher. But for those few minutes, it reveals the secret behind all storms. Everything that moves in nature is simply energy trying to find its way home. Scientists have started to suspect that the sky remembers. Not in a mystical way, but through a process called atmospheric memory, the idea that today's storms are influenced by yesterday's. Moisture patterns, wind paths, even temperature imbalances linger for days or weeks like ghost fingerprints in the air. Every raindrop evaporated from yesterday's flood fuels tomorrow's thunder. The sky recycles more than 90% of its own water, a closed loop of energy replaying old movements in new forms. The storm you see today may carry whispers from a hurricane months ago, halfway across the world. It's hauntingly poetic, the idea that air itself stores memory, constantly rewriting and rereading its own weather. Climate scientists trace this through computer models, but for anyone standing outside, you can simply feel it. Some storms arrive familiar, as if the planet has returned to an unfinished sentence. So when thunder rolls tonight, remember, It might be more than just weather. It could be the echo of something ancient, traveling through time, still searching for balance. A supercell isn't just a storm dead, it's a masterpiece of motion. It begins quietly, a single updraft twisting in humid air, rising higher and higher until it touches the stratosphere. Then something rare happens. It starts to rotate. That spin gives it structure, a rotating column of air called a mesocyclone. Inside, winds move in opposite directions at once, building pressure, creating thunder, and forging lightning deep within its core. From the outside, it looks like a living thing, breathing, pulsing, thinking. Supercells can last for hours, sometimes more. They birth tornadoes, hail, and winds that carve patterns into the land. Yet their creation depends on delicate balance. Too much wind shear, they collapse. Too little, they fade. They exist only when nature's chaos aligns perfectly. When you see one roll across the plains, it doesn't just look alive, it feels alive. It's the rarest kind of beauty. Strength and symmetry dancing at the edge of control. All storms, no matter how colossal, begin with a single drop. One speck of dust gathers moisture, grows heavy, and falls, pulling others with it. Soon millions follow, forming sheets of rain. It's chain reaction, humility, and physics all at once. That first droplet doesn't know it's part of something larger. It simply follows gravity. But in its fall, it triggers energy exchanges across the cloud, cooling air, building downdrafts, creating the rhythm that becomes a storm. It's a reminder that everything big begins small, that every downpour, every lightning strike owes its existence to something microscopic. Even nature's mightiest acts begin quietly. If you stand in a rainstorm long enough, think of that one drop. The first to fall, unseen, uncelebrated, yet vital. It's not the thunder that starts the story. It's the moment a single droplet lets go. At night, the air changes. Cooler temperatures make sound travel farther, bending thunder around the landscape. That's why storms feel closer after sunset, even when they're miles away. The darkness amplifies everything. Light, echo, imagination. Your senses sharpen in the quiet. Every rumble sounds like it's inside your chest. Every flash feels intimate. During the day, cities and winds scatter the noise. At night, the world listens. There's also psychology. When sight fades, hearing becomes our guide. That's why a nighttime thunderclap wakes us. It hits something primal, ancient. We're wired to respond to nature's voice. In truth, the storm isn't louder, we're quieter. The stillness of night makes the earth's energy easier to hear. It's not fear, it's recognition. A reminder that even in darkness, we're part of the same pulse that powers the sky. When the storm ends, something shifts. Not just in the air, but in us. The pressure rises, humidity falls, and sunlight pierces through in streaks that feel almost holy. People step outside, blinking at the stillness, as if the world just took a deep breath. There's a kind of emotional weather that follows every storm, relief, awe, exhaustion. They mix like currents in the sky. It's no coincidence that calm after chaos feels sacred. The human body mirrors the atmosphere. Our chemistry changes with the air. Plants straighten, birds sing again. Even our hearts slow down, sinking to the earth's steady rhythm returning. The calm isn't just absence, it's renewal. And in that silence, something universal happens. Gratitude. Not for the storm's destruction, but for the reminder that nothing, not fear, not noise, not turmoil, lasts forever. Peace, like rain, always finds its way back. The sky once belonged only to nature, but now it listens to us too. Jet engines carve trails that seed new clouds. Factories release particles that alter how droplets form, and cities radiate enough heat to bend small storm paths. We've become unintentional artists, painting the atmosphere without realizing it. Scientists call it anthropogenic weather modification. Each plume of exhaust, each cluster of skyscrapers shifts how clouds breathe. Some grow thicker, reflecting sunlight. Others shrink, unable to gather moisture. In a way, we've taught the sky to mimic our pulse, faster, warmer, more reactive. Satellite images prove it. Clouds behave differently over cities than open land. Rain falls more around urban heat islands while faraway regions dry. It's not guilt, just cause and effect, our breath added to Earth's own. When we change the air changes us. The sky isn't judging, it's responding. And maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for us to listen again. If you could record the heartbeat of the United States, it wouldn't be in sound. It would be in air pressure. Across the country, the atmosphere pulses in slow waves, rising, falling, contracting, releasing. It's the rhythm of wind, the national pulse of temperature and motion. Each region beats at its own pace. The coasts breathe with tides, the plains pulse with fronts, the mountains echo pressure like chambers in a lung. When one side inhales, drawing storms, another exhales into calm. Meteorologists track these oscillations through data, but to feel them is something else. You notice how moods shift with the weather, people slower on humid days, lighter after rain. The sky's rhythm syncs with ours more than we admit. We don't just live under the weather, we live within it. The air moves through us, adjusting our hearts and thoughts to the same tempo as the planet. We are, quite literally, breathing the nation's sky. Something is moving beneath the surface, slowly, quietly, but unmistakably. Climate models show that by mid-century, the weather map of the US will look nothing like it does now. Dry regions will see more floods, cold regions more warmth, and the once stable heartland will become the new frontier of extremes. This isn't just science, it's a story of migration. Storms traveling north, jet streams wandering, coastlines breathing inward as seas rise. The Earth isn't breaking, it's rebalancing, rewriting its own geography of temperature. Some call it the Great Repaturning, a long, slow reorganization of climate zones. Forests will creep into old grasslands. Rivers will carve new paths. The air itself will learn new behaviors. It's easy to fear change, but if you listen closely, you'll hear what the planet is really saying. I'm not dying, I'm adjusting. The question isn't whether the weather will change, it's whether we'll change with it. We often see storms as punishment, but maybe they're medicine. Each one redistributes heat, clears pollution, resets imbalance. Without them, Earth would overheat, oceans would stagnate, and air would turn still. Chaos, it seems, is how the planet cleanses itself. Lightning purifies the atmosphere. Rain washes toxins into the soil where plants transform them again. Wind spreads seeds, renews forests, and sculpts landforms. The storm is nature's grand recycling system. Fierce, but necessary. Even emotionally, storms heal. People find comfort in rain, clarity in thunder, peace in the sound of wind through trees. It reminds us that destruction and renewal are the same process viewed from different sides. Maybe the storm doesn't come to us, maybe it comes for us. To remind the world that balance isn't stillness, it's motion, and then it ends. The clouds drift apart, the wind sighs, and the earth returns to quiet breath. Somewhere, puddles shimmer under new sunlight, reflecting a sky that no longer remembers the violence of a few hours ago. In that hush, something soft remains, a whisper carried through cooling air. The kind you can't quite hear, but somehow understand. It's the voice of the atmosphere settling, of creation exhaling after its work. Every storm teaches patience. It breaks what's brittle and strengthens what's alive. The whisper after thunder is the earth saying thank you for listening, for surviving, for staying still long enough to notice the beauty in its wildness. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, let that whisper follow you, gentle, distant, endless. The storm is gone, but the memory of balance remains.